Mickey, we're here. It's the eve of the season. We're just getting ready for a hectic run of pre-season friendlies before that first county championship game. You've been watching the squad in training. You've been working with the squad hard. How is it looking?
It's looking really good, Steve, and I'm pretty excited. I'm bubbling at the fact that we can actually get out tomorrow and get our first taste of cricket. Really, really looking forward to that. Everything looks good. The guys have trained immensely well. They've worked incredibly hard. But it's time to get outdoors now. It's time for us to play. We can't just keep training at the same intensity without now actually playing. So it's come at exactly the right time for us. So really, really looking forward to it.
Yeah, and obviously the boys had a bit of outdoor training in Desert Springs. That sounded like it was a really positive trip, and now you go straight into cricket outdoors. How much are you looking forward to not only getting that competitiveness back, but also having the opportunity to see a few players, how they're different from in the nets?
Yeah, and that's always the telltale sign. I say you've never lost a game in February, which is great. We've every team on the county circuit's had the best pre-season ever. Players are playing the best they are. They're the fittest, strongest, most skillful they are. But that counts for nothing. It's the performances that we get out in the middle, and all we can do as coaches is prepare them to the best of our ability to go out and hopefully execute those match-winning performances. But I do sit here very, very happy as to where we are at as a squad and as a team at the minute. It's interesting you touch on that, because for the first time in a long while, I think, at Derbyshire, and something I'm certainly very excited about, is there's massive competition for places. You ask me now, we're nearly 14 days out from our first championship game. Is it 14 days? You asked me the team we're going to put out, and I actually don't know. And that's a great position to be in, because there's competition for places. It's all healthy competition. We have the ability to select based on conditions. We have the ability to select based on opposition strategy, on our strategy against opposition. So we've got ourselves in a position now where we've got a very, very competitive squad. We're taking 13 to Trent Bridge tomorrow, but there's another 6 that are being left here who could quite easily have gone. But it's just us trying to streamline now as we get into the season. Haider Ali arrives next week. It's another guy in the selection melting pot, which is a great position for us to be.
Yeah, you talk about the pre-season friendlies. There was a little bit with Hampshire. Okay, the game didn't go ahead, but we trained in the nets against their bowlers and their batters. Notts now in Division 1, Lancashire in Division 1. It's high-level opposition in pre-season, which is where we want to get to.
100%. That's exactly where we want to be. That's exactly where we want to be playing the best. Because I genuinely believe that in 2 years' time we are going to be the best, and people are going to want to play against us. I genuinely believe that, and as part of the journey. It's all part of the journey, putting our skills against the best counties out there, and there are some very, very good counties. But we've got to be better.
Yeah, you mentioned Haider Ali as well. He arrives late next week. Is it looking like he'll be in for the Durham game?
Yes, yeah, he'll be here in time for the Durham game, which is great.
Yeah.
Again, are we going to select him? And those are things that that'll become a little bit clearer once we start turning in performances out in the middle. But of course, I say that tongue in cheek. He's an overseas player. He's a good young guy, but he, just like anybody else, he's got to come in and earn that right to be part of the Derbyshire squad that goes out against Worcestershire in the first game. I'm very comfortable he will, though, because he's a wonderful, wonderful player.
Yeah, and we do have two overseas players kind of at opposite ends of the spectrum. We have one player who's really just starting out his international career, showing a lot of potential. Maybe is coming here to really deliver on that promise. But then there's also Saranga Lakmal, who is one of Sri Lanka's best ever test bowlers, and he will lead the attack and have that responsibility. So how much are you looking forward to seeing how they mesh?
Yeah, it is interesting. I think you summed it up really well, and I quite that was done with a purpose, because we've got a relatively experienced batting lineup now. You put the likes of Godalming, you put the likes of Rees, you put the likes of Matson and Duploy, who's experienced, Lamb. You throw in the young guns like Kame and Guest and Dull, and then you throw Hayder in there as well. He will learn from an experienced batting group. On the other side of the coin, our bowlers are all very, very talented, very skillful, very good, but generally young in their careers. They need a leader who's been around the bush a bit. So it kind of dovetails really nicely.
And lastly, already mentioned the 2-day game, Trent Bridge starting tomorrow. 13 players, places up for grabs. How much are you looking forward just to getting out there and coaching during a game again?
Yeah, again, I'll wake up tomorrow and there'll be a different buzz, because I've got to be honest, coming down every day now and getting back into the indoor centre, it's very much like Groundhog Day. We want to be out there, we want to be playing, we want to be testing our skills. I want to see players under pressure. I want to see how they react, because that tells you a lot in terms of how we select our side going forward. So I want to wake up with a buzz tomorrow morning.